Welcome to Part 3 of Finding U.S. Passenger Lists. In this section, we'll learn about finding U.S. passenger lists with known information, using Ancestry Library Edition to find passenger lists, using Family Search and other free websites to find passenger lists. The easiest way to find a passenger list with known information is by using Ancestry Library Edition, or Ancestry.com if you have an at-home subscription. Ancestry Library Edition is available at every Buffalo and Erie County public library location. Normally it's not available from home, but due to the New York State pause for COVID-19, there is temporary access from home with your library card. If you are outside of the Buffalo and Erie County area, check with your local library to see if they subscribe to Ancestry Library Edition if you don't have the home version for yourself. So we're going to start with the example that we looked at in the last videos for Mr. William Henley, who came into Portland, Maine on November 1st, 1923 on the SS President Polk. To access Ancestry Library Edition through the Buffalo and Erie County Library System, you go to the library's homepage, which is www.buffalolib.org, and you click on Research and Resources. Then under Research, click Databases A to Z. Up here, you will see a box. It's not showing on my screen now, but this is where you would put in your library card. If you're in one of our libraries, when we reopen, you won't need to put in a library card number. Then you scroll down to the categories and click Genealogy, and you click Ancestry Library. Next, you go to the Search menu, and if you click it, then you'll get some choices, and you choose Immigration and Travel. Next, you want to narrow down the category of records that you're going to be searching even further. So over to the right, under Narrow by Category, choose Passenger Lists. You can fill in as much or as little information as you would like, but what I recommend searching for is the person's name. In this case, it's William Henley. And putting in the arrival information. Again, this is assuming that you have documentation that provides the time and date of arrival and the location of arrival. So he arrived in November of 1923, and he came into Portland, Maine. You could search with just that information, but we do know that he came on the President Polk. That was the ship's name. I'm going to put in just Polk as a keyword. And here he is, William Henley. To see the record, you click the link. It gives a transcription of some of the information. And then you click View to see the actual passenger list. So here he is right in the middle of the list, William Henley. And again, remember that there are usually 2 pages for the passenger list. So if you advance to the next page, he is on the next page as well. So that's his information right there. So next we'll talk about finding a passenger list without that known information. And what do you have the easiest access to? That's what you should start with. And usually the answer to that is online resources. Before I get into some of the online resources, I'm going to give a little bit more background information to immigration history. From 1820 through 1900, about 70% of immigrants came through New York City. Before August 1st, 1855, immigrants came into New York Harbor, and there was no assistance or processing of immigrants. Unfortunately, there were people who liked to take advantage of immigrants. These people were called immigrant runners. So in the picture that I'm showing you from the New York Public Library, you can see where I pointed some arrows there. So to the right, there's a gentleman who's pickpocketing a lady. To the left, there's a gentleman selling a man tickets. And what the immigrant runners would usually do is they would sell them tickets for a larger than they should price. Sometimes the immigrant runners would sort of hijack the immigrants' bags and force them to stay at a particular hotel where they would be charged large fees for staying there. So New York City and New York State saw that this was a problem, and they wanted to try to help these immigrants. So they created an immigrant processing station called Castle Garden. This was a building that already existed. It was a military building, but it existed as an immigrant processing station from August 1st, 1855 through April 18th, 1890. And what happened at Castle Garden is the folks there would aid immigrants. They provided a labor exchange for immigrants to try to find work. There was a currency exchange. They helped arrange transportation to wherever it was that they were going next. They had a guarded facility, so they would try to stop these immigrant runners from swindling the immigrants. It was funded by a head tax. Just because so many people know about this website, there used to be a Castle Garden website where you could search passenger lists for free, but that website is now defunct. So eventually the federal government decided that they wanted to be in charge of immigration, and they wanted to run the immigrant processing station in New York City at Castle Garden. But because New York City and New York State would no longer get that head tax, they would not allow the federal government to use Castle Garden. So from April 19th, 1890 through December 31st, 1891, immigrants who came into New York City were processed at the New York City Barge Office in New York Harbor. Meanwhile, the federal government was building up Ellis Island to be an immigrant processing center. So the building that you see here is where immigrants would go between January 1st, 1892 and June 13th, 1897. Unfortunately, on June 14th, 1897, there was a fire, and it burned down these newly built buildings. So from that date until December 16th, 1900, again, immigrants coming into New York City were processed at the New York City Barge Office. Then the building that exists now that we can go see as tourists opened on December 17th, 1900 on Ellis Island, and it existed until 1924 as an immigrant processing station. After World War I, the U.S. began to emerge as a potential world power. U.S. embassies were established in countries all over the world, and prospective immigrants now applied for their visas at American consulates in their countries of origin. The necessary paperwork was completed at the consulate, and a medical inspection was conducted there too. After 1924, the only people who were detained at Ellis Island were those who had problems with their paperwork, as well as war refugees and displaced persons. In November of 1954, Ellis Island was officially closed. There is an Ellis Island website that you can use for free. It has lists for New York City, any lists for New York City, not just those that came through Ellis Island. from 1892 through 1957. And this is the website that you see on your screen. Here is the Ellis Island website. You will have to set up a free account to see the passenger list, but you can keyword search it. I want to show you another alternative to using the Ellis Island website. It is something called the Steve Morse website. And it's kind of neat because it's just very streamlined and easy to use. And you can sort of customize it to the search data that you want to put on the forum. And what you do is you go to the website here, stevemorse.org, and you choose the Ellis Island Passenger Gold form. And what's nice is that you can put in a name, like if there was a different foreign way to say a name, like say your ancestor was Anthony, but in a foreign language it might be Antony, Antoni. You could put in the start of a name and have it set to starts with. You could also do a sounds like or contains. So you can put in the first few letters of the name and leave the ending off. And then I'll show you a sounds like option. So this person that we're searching for, his last name is Polson. But, as we know, foreign names can be spelled differently sometimes according to how the person decided it sounded like it was spelled. And then you can choose the information here that you want to show on the results page. So say we want the year of arrival, and we know that this person arrived between 1892 and 1900. You can put that. Say we know this person would have been between, say, 20 and 40 years old. You can do that. And then this is where you can check off the items that you want to see on the results page. So I'm going to keep name and town, year of arrival, year of birth, age, and then you can do how you want the results sorted. So I'm going to leave it at name. Here you could put in your Ellis Island login information. I'm going to click search. And you can see there's quite a variation from what I put in terms of the name, but it does include similar sounding names. You can see a lot of Antonia, Antonios, Anto, Antim, Antony. We can see when we get more towards the bottom that we start seeing names that are more similar to Polson, Paulson, Paulson. You can go to the next entries, and there's some more that kind of sound a little bit more like our Anthony. Next, we'll focus on Ancestry Library Edition. You can do the same thing with Ancestry.com if you have an at-home subscription. Ancestry Library Edition has U.S. incoming passenger lists for all over the U.S. They also have foreign outgoing lists, Canadian incoming lists, and U.S. border crossing records. Right now, we're going to focus on the U.S. incoming lists, and we'll talk about the others later. So here we are again at Ancestry Library Edition. This is the main search page, and we want to go to the immigration section. So we go to the search menu, immigration and travel. Here at the search screen, you can put in as much and as little information as you'd like. So what I recommend putting in is the first name and the last name, and approximate year of birth. I'm going to put 1842 plus or minus 2 years to give it some flexibility. I estimated from the family's census records about when they came to the country, and that was about 1882. And again, I'm going to give it some flexibility, plus or minus 2 years. I don't know where they arrived, though they did eventually end up in Chautauqua County, New York. And then I'm going to search. So I got no hits. I knew that was going to happen. And this will often happen when you try to search for passenger lists. But what I recommend doing is then editing your search and playing with your search strategy. So one thing that you can do is you can take off the end of a word or the beginning of a word as long as you have 3 characters to work with, and you can put an asterisk in the place of the ending or beginning of the word. So I'm going to change it to Galoob instead of Galoobski, and I'm going to click search. And again, I get no hits. So next I'm going to edit the search, and I'm going to try asterisk in the beginning and put BSKI, and I'm going to put JUL for the first name and then an asterisk in case her first name might have varied. I'm going to click search. So I came up with a hit, Juliana Yolabski, and it's different, but it is very the same. And I see the origin is Prussia, and this family was from Poland. So I'm going to look at this hit. So when you click on the result, again, you'll see a little bit of a transcription. You can see the ship they came on, which was the Wera from Bremen, Germany. I'm going to click View to see the passenger list. And I see Juliana Yolabski here. So I'm going to zoom in. And what you see here is it looks like the G is open, and that certainly could be a U. So looking at the children's names and all of their ages, I do believe that this is the family that I'm searching for. It's just the writing is a little bit different, so it was transcribed wrong. I'm going to show you one more search method. So something I try if I didn't get this hit. I often try to pick the least common first name of one of the family members to see if I'll get a hit. So I'm going to edit the search, and I'm going to just put in the first name, Valerie, because I thought this doesn't seem like a common name for the 1880s. And I'm going to take out the year of birth. And Valerie was born about 1880. I'm going to leave it plus or minus 2 years, the same arrival time frame. I'm going to make Valerie exact. And I'm going to see what happens. So here is that same family. There's Valerie Yolabski, and it's got all the rest of the same information. So that's another search strategy that you can use. And another strategy that would work is what you can do is you can put question marks in place of some of the letters. So I'm going to go back to Julie. Put J-U-L asterisk, and I'm going to put question mark in place of the G, O-L, question mark in place of the U, and put in B-S-K-I. Got to change her year back to the right year, 1842, and click search. And I do get Juliana Yolabsky again. So those are some different things that you can play with if you're not getting the results that you expect. The next website I'd like to tell you about is a free resource called FamilySearch.org. It's the genealogy website of the Mormon Church. Because of their religion, they do genealogy research, and for decades they've been digitizing and microfilming records from all over the world. They have the largest genealogical collection in the world, and their goal is to digitize all of their records and put them online for free. When you use this website, you will have to create a free account in order to get full access to the website. Although certain items you can't view online from your home. You might have to go to a special location and view them. So one way that you can identify resources that they have is by going to the search menu and going to their catalog. A good way to search for passenger lists and immigration records is by doing a keyword search. I recommend putting in the country that you're searching for. So say we're searching for Finland. And try the word immigration. And then click search. There are 179 results, but all of these aren't necessarily online. One way to ensure that you see just what's online is you can choose online and then update. You could have also chosen online when we first started our search. So these are records that have been digitized, and just looking through the titles here, something that stands out is this item right here, because it has the word immigrant in it, even though this record is in Finnish. And it's got a time frame here, and let's just say this is the time frame that we're looking for. So you can click on the record, and the notes field will tell you some information about the record. It'll be in whatever language the records are in, and then it'll explain it in English. And then we see the different records. And you can see the time frame that each of these sets of records covers. Over to the right, it'll tell you whether you can view the item from home, or if all of them have been digitized. For example, here you see just microfilm reels for a few of these items. And if you just see a microfilm reel, it means that it's not been digitized. It's just available on microfilm at the Family History Library, which is in Salt Lake City. If you see a camera, it means that the item has been digitized. So if it was just a camera, you could click on it and then view it from home. But if you see a key, it means that you have to view it in a specific location. So I'm going to click on that, and it should tell me where I can view these records. And here it says where we can access these records. You can access these at a Family History Center or a Family Search affiliate library. So there are many Family History Centers. A Family History Center is usually situated in a Mormon church. They'll have a small library where you can go and use computers for free. Usually you can also bring in your laptop, and you can use their wireless and access the databases through a Family History Center's wireless as well. And then certain libraries, whether it be a public library, a historical society, a genealogical society, are affiliate libraries. And so you can go and use the computers at that library and use these records too. And usually you can use the wireless just like you can at a Family History Center. So the Grosvenor Room at the Central Library is an affiliate library, so you could use this in the Grosvenor Room. And I do believe that the Niagara County Genealogical Society is looking into being a family history library too. They can correct me if I'm wrong. You could check with your own local library or your own local genealogical society if they have their own library to see if they're a family history affiliate. Another way that you could see passenger lists are through their records section of their website. So if you go to search and then records, what I recommend doing is go down to browse all published collections, and then you can narrow things down on the left-hand side by choosing a category, a subject category. So I'm going to choose migration and naturalization. And so here's, for all over the world, these are things that have been digitized. Often they're keyword searchable, but some of them are just browsable. When you do this search, is not as complete as if you do the catalog search that I showed you. If you wanted to narrow things down more, you could choose more categories from the side menus. You could also put in a location. So say I wanted to see if there were any New York passenger lists in here. I can put a location in this filter by collection title, and then you can see the different immigration and migration records that they have. And then if you could click on a particular title. So let's say I wanted this one, you could click it, and then you could search this collection if you wanted to. I should mention that the first search that I showed you through the catalog, you could also try different search terms going along with that. So you could try passenger lists, you could try migration. If you're looking for naturalization records, you could try naturalization as a keyword. So be creative with your searching. So that's the end of part 3. If you join us for part 4, you'll learn about European outgoing passenger lists and U.S. border crossing records. See you in a minute.